Do you ever stop and think to yourself, oh shit, the dystopian authors of the 20th century were completely right. Humans are slowly but surely trending toward a shorter and shorter attention span, with movies to TV shows to videos and now Reels or TikToks or whatever you want to call it. In the very classic tale, Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury writes that all classics are going to be boiled down into almost absolute nothing until they are nothing and they're gone, and books are actually banned completely in order to control the public's thought and perspective and opinion and everything. And so the TV itself turns into unnecessary time-wasting thought. Does that sound familiar? Or take, for instance, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, who, again, books are banned and put into the minds of all the babies via Hypnopedia is time-wasting thought, as well as complete and utter chaos, as well as society forming brainwashing non-facts like epsilons wear gray and what have you. And then the media itself, using Bradbury's terms here, is time-wasting thought, unnecessary time-wasting thought. And in Brave New World, we have the beauty of soma, or, as we say in reality, instant dopamine hitting drugs, to where you don't really want to do anything. I don't have a direct example from like 1984, but that's just another beautiful piece of dystopian classicness, to where the controlled media is awful, unnecessary, time-wasting thought. But in all actuality, is this very scary that the dystopian authors of, 70 plus years ago would kind of call that humans don't want to read or don't want to watch incredibly long things or, consume knowledge? It is a little scary, but at the same time, short-form content is not new. It's not new. It's only new in a sense of it's very prevalent and everywhere and kind of takes all of our time, but they're not new. But fortunately, I really like to look at the silver lining of things, the positive side of this isn't the actual end of the world. Short-form content has been along for literally thousands and thousands of years. It didn't just simply start with Vine or YouTube or what have you, VHSs. It started with aphorisms, or, as the Greeks say, aphorisien, which just means definition, a definition of something philosophical or scientific, or just a small statement that can have a lot of meaning at the same time. In other words, we could just say a saying or a maxim or a axiom, adage, precept, epigraph, phrase, formula, apothegm, whatever you want to call it, a mantra even, that's not on the Google list here. Very small little quips have existed for ages. So today I thought I would do something super duper fun, chill, silly maybe even, and say, what if Nietzsche made TikToks in his day? What would they be and look like? Or Confucius, or the Buddhas? What would happen if they had little celly phones back in the way day? So today I've collected you a small playlist of what that would be and look like. A little montage of philosophy, and just like send your friend a little happy little video, because that's what aphorisms are. They are a fantastic way to introduce people into something much larger, a much larger concept, but in an introductory sort of way, sort of like an invitation to come read an entire book. So with that, let's get into it, shall we? Convictions are more dangerous of truth than lies. When I was doing all of my research yesterday, this is actually the very first one that I flipped to, but it's been stuck in my head ever since, probably as my new mantra, because it is so dang true. Convictions are more hurtful to the truth than lies. But honestly, convictions are one thing that kind of irk me. Close-mindedness, in other words, is something that really irks me. One thing that is never one solid thing forever is the truth. The truth is full of nuance, and so to be completely sold on one thing for the rest of your life is a little silly, not to say the least. The moral of the story here is that closed-mindedness just hurts growth and human growth and spiritual growth, as well as just your knowledge. You cannot get smarter if what you think is true is true. That's a freaking Socrates staple right there, coming from Nietzsche, a huge Socrates fan. Kind of a weird way to say it, but learned man of the Socrates. But yes, all of these are very, very short, and so I'm not even sure how to transition in between these. It's probably just going to be it.
You know, the surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently.
The absolute bestest way ever to corrupt a human being is when they're very young, tell them, don't let other people change your mind. Just stick to people who think just like you, aka confirmation bias, aka like all of the internet or like Reddit maybe. This is also how you corrupt an entire society. I'm not really sure how much to expand here on the absolute dangers of confirmation bias, but it is very similar to the dangers of groupthink, and that is when one person suggests one thing and you all already know that you all have the same exact ideals and values and morals and virtues, then that one thing is going to be very persuadable, no matter really what it is, good or bad, violent or happy, or whatever it may be. Confirmation bias tends to lead to badness, just absolute badness.
How good bad music and bad reasons sound when one marches against an enemy.
So this follows in the same exact vein of confirmation bias. When one person is convinced by an entire group one thing is good, they are not going to realize that it is completely bad and almost evil, or, completely destructive and a bastardization of the group's actual goal. No. A huge thing in Nietzsche's philosophy is that sheeple exist, and you cannot be one of them. You have to think authentically and for yourself. And what Heidegger says about this in much expansion in his books is that you need to think actively 100% and never go on autopilot, where you're just kind of going with the motion, to where if you're going with just the crowd of the people, you're not going to realize how bad the music is or how bad the plan is. You have to be a leader or just not a follower. You don't have to necessarily lead others, but lead yourself to authentically make choices for yourself and think about every single thing without an autopilot mode being on, especially in groups of people. Groups of people can be very persuasive.
The snake that cannot shed its skin perishes. So do the spirits who are prevented from changing their opinions. They cease to be spirit.
And so to round off this entire idea of open-mindedness, we come to close-mindedness and how it is actually fairly dangerous to live authentically, spiritually, enlightened, whatever it may be. If you cannot change your opinions, you cannot change for the better. If you cannot change for the better, you're not actually living, right? And saying that people cease to be spirit might be like an over-exaggeration. Saying that you don't live because you don't change your opinions is maybe a bit of an exaggeration. But in all reality, growth is what makes us better human beings. And to be a better human being is a fantastic purpose to life. If your purpose is to be, the bestest you, then you need to be able to change yourself as you need to be changed, whatever that may mean. But in order to perfect yourself and to grow, we need to be able to see when things are a little silly, when we need to be able to change our minds, and when we can shed all of our skin and still feel like us, because we are ever-changing beings. We change every single day for the better, I hope, but without change, it's hard to see any sort of growth. And without growth, do we live? Do we spirit? Do we cease to be?
What is done out of love always occurs beyond good and evil.
Fantastically enough, this means that love itself can look beautiful or it can look cruel, but often love kind of just looks out for us. Our family members might piss us off sometimes, but it is generally out of love. As I briefly mentioned before, Nietzsche was a very obsessed man with Greek literature, philosophy, and the Greek philosophy actually has 5 or 6 types of love, which include romantic love, affectionate love, selfless, universal love, familiar love, obsessive love, playful love, enduring love, and self-love. Many, many different types of love. But some of these loves can look bad, or good, or evil, or can just look completely beyond it, because sometimes people who love you tend to look out for you. They tend to, say mean things to your face because you need to hear it. It's not about being nice, it's about being loving. And if you love someone, you should tell them when they're being a piece of shit, realistically. And that is probably the best example, because true love doesn't have to care about, oh no, I'm going to hurt their feelings and they're not going to like me anymore. It's not it's love. It's real love. And so if you need to hear something, you gotta hear it. And you have to know that it's coming from a place of love, not good or evil. It's completely beyond that. You need to get your shit together is what it is. I've said it a million times on this channel already, but once more, let us hear it again. Play that track back once more.
What doesn't destroy me makes me stronger.
I've gone into a lot of depth on this exact quote, "What does not destroy me makes me stronger." And realistically, it boils down to resilience does strengthen your soul. This is truly such a perfect mantra that Kelly Clarkson herself stole it right up and made it a song. But what does not destroy me makes me stronger. How do you explain that in more words? I understand that some perspectives think or say I understand that some people think no, if you break a bone and it heals back, it is not stronger. But that is a bone, it's not your soul. What it is really saying is that resilience does create a better person, or more pressure makes a shinier diamond. It's if you don't get back up on the horse, you're just gonna lie on the ground forever and always. That doesn't make you better, it just makes you not moving anymore. But if you get back up on the horse and you just say, I can do it, I got this, it means you are ever changing, ever growing, ever amazingness person. Realistically, every single thing that Nietzsche writes points towards the same exact thing. Be authentically you and constantly the strongest person, the strongest you that you can be. And I know sometimes we gotta say to ourselves, like, I gotta just feel my feelings. I gotta be sad for a minute. And that's okay. That is perfectly okay. Just as long as you don't take too long. And to get back up on that horse, you have to understand that once we take ourselves up off of our I don't know what the saying, the idiom is, but as soon as we pick ourselves up, we are that much stronger. It is like the barbells of lifting your soul, or doing some curl-ups, some push-ups, and saying, I can be better. And how else are you gonna live life, baby? There's no other way to do it. The only real thing to add here is don't be reckless. Don't go out looking for things that could potentially destroy you. And if they don't, then you are a stronger person. No, that is like the definition of reckless. But we do have to put ourselves out there in positions where we might get hurt. We might get a little sad, or we might get a little bruise on our heart. But we grow and we become bigger trees with more rings, and without that, we're just sad little trees being sad. We're only analogies today, I guess.
Here's the formula of my happiness: a yes, a no, a straight line, and a goal. Thank you.
It's a nice slant rhyme there, Nietzsche. I see you. So ending our little Nietzschean section of this aphorism playlist is be confident and also plan. This quote really speaks to me because I really like to plan, but at the same time I'm bad at keeping it as a straight line because I have many goals in life, maybe too many to count. But this is a perfect mantra or aphorism or whatever you want to call it, because really goals do take one straight line to get there. Not necessarily one straight, like you're only gonna be on one path the whole time, but to have one straight line and sort of like a yes man sort of mindset is very good to think about, because sometimes you have to tell yourself, no, I can't do this, I have to do this in order to succeed in my goal. Maybe that won't feel so good at first, but as soon as you tell yourself where to put your yes and your no and where your straight line is, we're on our way. That, of course, is a pun, because now we're going to talk about the Dao de Jing, which is about the way and following our way. The Wu way, if you will. So let's dive right into it. The Tao is called the Great Mother. Empty yet inexhaustible, it gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want. If you are new to Taoism, it's very similar to an inkling, a feeling you get in your gut, or just signs you see in the world, maybe an open path that presents itself to you. It's a force that pushes you to what your end should be, but it's basically like any other path that shows too much resilience. Is like the universe is telling you this is not your path, which is funny because what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. If you are kind of going with the definition of insanity and attempting the same exact thing, and it is destroying you and maybe not making you stronger, that is the Tao telling you to kind of choose a different path. Of course, it is very hard to determine what is what, which is which. Should I just try harder and, push myself? Or is this the Tao telling me maybe this isn't my thing? But that's when you get to determine what you want. It's when you toss up a coin and you got one thing is heads and one thing is tails, and you realize in that moment of the toss-up that you know which one you want. And so you have to just follow your heart and follow your gut and what it tells you to do, as well as how the world presents its opportunities for you. But you know me, I like to remind us the world's too busy. There's too many people. Sometimes the world doesn't present too many opportunities because we gotta kind of seek them out. So there is a seeking out of the Tao. It is ever present within us, and so in our search for our own path, it will aid and provide assistance in one way or another. Always just get to know your gut. What's your gut feeling about any sort of thing? And that's your push towards your way. Of course, don't let anxiety get in your way. That is its own gut in and of itself. She kind of talks too much sometimes, if you know what I mean. But that is a different feeling. It's not an inkling, it's just anxiety. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky. Desires are bad. They are not good. Desires are another word for expectations in reality, because desires, we think sometimes we're going to get something when we're not going to get it ever, or at all, or, in the end. And this makes us very sad and frustrated and more suffering than we ever really needed in the first place, because we desired it in the first place. We put that suffering on ourselves. But without this suffering and without any sort of influence from the outside world of our senses, be it the eyes, ears, mouth, we are uninfluenced and effortless, and we move like a cloud. And this is a beautiful way to say how we ought to be in our state of meditation, maybe when we're trying to figure out what the Tao wants us to do, what our way should be, the path we should take. We should not be influenced. We should be effortless and just sort of say, boom, this is what I want. Boom, this is the path I want to go down. But at the same time, we have to roll with the punches. We can't have an attachment on our desired path. We can have a differing path that could happen at any moment and without notice, written warning. And with this no desire, we are still happy. We are not suffering. And we are effortless and happy and uninfluenced like a cloud. And when we allow things to come and go as they please with no true desire or attachment on them, this allows us to just be happy with ourselves and with the world around us and not have any disappointments in the way things are going, because that's just the way is. It's just the way life is. So when life is already stressful and suffering enough, releasing our desires from reality and just not having them at all would get us one step closer to just pure bliss or enlightenment, or just being able to not be sad and depressed and really frustrated and disappointed and throwing up the towel to the universe and saying, I give up. We don't want that. So, what do we do? How do we fix this? The Tao never does anything, yet through it all things are done. If powerful men and women could center themselves in it, the whole world would be transformed by itself in its natural rhythms. People would be content with their simple, everyday lives, in harmony and free of desire. When there is no desire, all things are at peace. And I know what you're thinking. Alex, is this not the Soma-driven society in Brave New World, where everyone has no desires and everyone is at peace? And all I have to say is no. That is not a peaceful world at all. That is a medicated society to where everyone's like just brainwashed to go through their daily lives of humdrum work and orgy-porgies. But that's not it at all. When we live in a society, when we're not begging for the capitalistic lottery ticket that is to live a life without stress about rent and money and food and all of this awfulness, then we don't have to have those desires. Then we can live at peace. Then we could go off and be an artist and not actually give two hoots if we're famous about it. Because all of our desires that are in the forefront of our mind are completely just smoothed out by having an actual civilization that is at peace with what it requires and needs and the resources that we all love. Okay, you would be very surprised as to how political the Dao de Jing is, and how it does have many aphorisms on how you should shape your entire country and society into a world that just understands the way in which humans require to live and the way itself to where we need effortlessness in order for happiness. And where we are at now is not that. It is many efforts. It is a lot of effort. It is a school full of effort. And this makes us very stressed out as a society, on a society level, when we are able to just move like flowing water towards our goals, towards our end, towards our absolute, authentic, ever-changing being, then we are able to be happy and desireless, because our desires would be met. And we wouldn't form the unnecessary ones, right? You know, the desires that are met are actually just our needs, our everyday living needs, and the attachments beyond that are just completely unnecessary. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend on authority. Therefore, the master steps back so that people won't be confused. He teaches without a teaching, so that people will have nothing to learn. The word Tao can be translated into many different things, including the way and how we should effortlessly move, on our path. It's another word translation. But it is also known to be a method of conduct and social behavior, as well as a way of speech and how you should actually talk to other people or yourself or the world around you, because you talk to the literal universe. But in this, we have to consider our teaching others or our governing others, and how much of an effect that we have onto other people, especially when you are in charge of a lot of different people. If they suddenly are way too taken by you, you have to realize we need to let these people have their own way, their own thoughts, their own mode of being, to where they're not just non-authentically and autopilotly following me. We need to show them how they are and how they can be. And so that's just a beautiful, completely off-the-cuff way of using the Tao into how we talk to other people. It sometimes is about not talking and not teaching people step by step and hand-holding other people to make them exactly like you are, sometimes it's about embracing others and helping them learn exactly how they are. And I love that, because I'm all about authenticity, but not just for me, for every single person out there. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit. Trust them. Leave them alone. We've all seen the hovering parents and how this affects their children, and how building confidence does not mean hand-holding. Again, like I'd said just a moment ago, we have to sometimes let the bird fly or fall. That's fine. We have to embrace others. But on a societal level, I don't know. This one was written a very, very, very long time ago. Please let me know if you think if the government should be hand-holding. Do we want to be Ralph Nader, or do we want to be Martin Friedman? Do we want significant and heavy and very authoritative governmental regulations, or do we want more freedom in doing whatever we want, and how governmental regulations can kind of protect us sometimes against evil corporations and what have you? You know, do we leave the people alone? I don't know. Sometimes when the world gets to too many people and too many businesses, into the trillions and what the next one, 6 trillions, sometimes we gotta take a step back and think, I don't know. Just like the very first aphorism here. If we are too committed to one truth, this is very dangerous. And so this is a perfect example of an aphorism that makes us question, should the government be holding our hand or not? But this is also a fantastic aphorism that does make us go from a very short little thing into wanting to read something much, much longer to get to the bottom of this entire problem. Because I'm sure it could go on and on and on and on and on. If you've ever heard of the social contract and how simple of a concept that is, know that the book is thick. There's many more things to read about in building the context of what is what. So just a fun thing about why aphorisms can't be the end-all of learning philosophy, but maybe the complete start-all of getting into it. Or scientific excerpt caught your attention and now you want to read a whole book about it. That's the beauty of aphorisms. I want to end today's video with just one more aphorism from the Dao de Jing. Unfortunately, I think I have to skip the one from the Buddhist teachings book that I got. I need to turn the AC back on right now. Don't judge the fact that I'm wearing a sweater. I look cute. Okay, shush. Failure is an opportunity. If you blame someone else, there is no end to that blame. Therefore, the master fulfills her own obligations and corrects her own mistakes. She does what she needs to do and demands nothing of others. So, leaving us on our final one here, I just wanted to show that the Tao is not about effortless, our way to our goal should just be easy breezing. Sometimes there is failure. Sometimes we gotta get back up on the horse and we gotta say, you know what, I can still see this as my way, and this is just one small little step in a big journey of growth. And I think that is absolutely beautiful. But I think the biggest thing to learn from this and from failure itself is how you can learn from it, how it can make you better and stronger. But if we blame someone else, if we don't see how we could have corrected that mistake, and if we just point all the fingers at everyone else, we're not at all learning, growing, changing, being better. We are just being closed-minded and not open-minded to the beauty that is learning from failures. One of my absolute favoriteest creators on YouTube is Evan and Caitlin, who very famously have a t-shirt and always say, make, fail, make, fail, make, fail, make, fail, make. Ending on the make is the key thing here. And that is, we just have fun and we go through and we just keep doing it with our fun. We're like, crap, that didn't work out. Let's try it again. Because there's no wrong, there's no right, except when we're giving up. There is no try, there is only do or do not. Thank you, Yoda. But yeah, there is no wrong unless we try. There is no wrong unless we blame others on all of what we did and are just convinced that we are perfect, we are perfection, we are never wrong. No, this is an absolute travesty of an attitude towards life. We gotta turn that around. We gotta turn that smile right upside down and make it a frown sometimes and say, no, you were wrong. And just like the aphorism on love, it is self-love, it is familial love, it is whatever kind of whoever is saying it to you, love, to tell you that you need to be better. It's not good, it's not evil, it's beyond that. It's love. It's just growth and change and happiness. And with that, we come to the very end of our playlist or montage of what if people back in the way day made some TikToks. Well, they did. They're called little mini aphorisms or maxims or mantras or learnings, sayings, whatever you want to call it. What literal ever word you'd want to call it. To share a little like meta of this video, I have been not writing for quite a minute, being out of college and having like many art projects and a full-time job. I thought it would be really fun to get back into writing with just writing aphorisms, and I've been doing it like for 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. But when I went to go write a script for a video, I was like, how do you write long form anything? I don't know. I can't write an entire 10, 20, 30 minute video. And then I was like, what if we just talk about what we've been writing about, which is short things? And then I was like, well, oh my gosh, like TikToks. I used to say TikToks were maybe the end of the world, like Ray Bradbury said, but no, they're just a new construction of a very old thing. We cannot just outright say short form content is bad. Short form content is the end of the world or the end all be all of what dystopian books say is the end of the human civilization that we know and love. No. We have to say short form content's always been around. It's been around for like 5,000 years probably. That's the odd number I usually like to say. But world's very, very, very old. I'm sure even older aphorisms exist. Okay? If you've made it all the way here to the end of the episode, I really, really appreciate it. I'm sorry we didn't get to the Buddhist bits. Like I said, they are all longer. So maybe we can talk about it later. I have already done videos on suffering and the Eightfold Path and many, many things. With that, I'd love to share. Please let me know if you have any aphorisms that you think belong in this playlist or, collection of TikToks. I don't know. Or maybe you've got more different philosophers that I don't even read or have ever heard of. I would absolutely love to hear all of your thoughts or someone else's thoughts that you think are relevant, whatever it may be. Share it in the comments, and I cannot wait to see you there. Thank you so much for dropping by. I really, really appreciate you taking the time, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and be well. All right. Okay. Until next time, I hope you are super duper well, and I'll see you soon. Bye. I love you.